Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
It's a hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
Rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Thunder rolls, fires in the sky. We've been waiting for this moment all our lives. The darkness gathers, the evil takes its form, but side by side we ride into the storm. They thought they could blind us. Together we ride into the storm.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. A little late tonight, but we're here. I really wanted to actually see what was happening, what was going on, and how this is all going to unfold with Iran. But so a little bit delayed tonight. I got home usually around showtime from my daughter's wrestling match. Man, just it's interesting to watch the world unfold. But right now we are in that moment I call TikTok, motherfuckers. It is definitely a TikTok moment we are watching right now. And so I'm looking for like updates every minute on what's happening in Iran. There's unconfirmed reports, people talking about it, that Khamenei has been killed. I don't believe this. I did post it, but I don't believe it. They're a little bit smarter than that. He's not going to get on a helicopter that's going to go down in the middle of a fog storm, if you know what I mean. But we're going to keep on watching what happens in Iran. It potentially could go this weekend, although I don't think it's going to go this weekend. The reason I don't think it's going to go this weekend is because I don't think that Iran is at that precipice. I mean, you got tens of thousands in the street. You don't have hundreds of thousands. And you really need that precipice moment to where the people have truly taken over in order to go to that next move. So we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. It is Friday. Excuse me. So a few different things coming up this weekend. Q After Hours on Sunday night. It's going to be one heck of a show. Badlands Media, who I do work with. I love those guys. They're awesome. I think they're on OnlyLands right now. Just announced a new show with Lieutenant General Stephen Quast. That's going to be an amazing show. I actually got his card right here in front of me. I got to message him tomorrow about some things. But, you know, I'm really excited about that show. And if you guys aren't following Badlands, go on over to Badlands and give them a follow. I do the Q After Hours show, and then I do DEF CON 0 on Tuesday night. No show as scheduled tomorrow night, but tomorrow night, I think what we'll do is a Fringe Binge. So if you love the Fringe Binge, that's for our premium subscribers on Rumble. You'll have the Fringe Binge be playing tomorrow night. So MJ Truth posted this a little while ago. He said, in the last 48 hours, American children are going from 70 plus vaccines in the schedule to 11. That's huge. I know it's not exactly what we wanted, but that's massive. Trump announces ban on institutional investors from buying more single-family homes. This is BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, so forth. That's freaking huge. It should be a constitutional amendment that only American citizens can own property in the United States of America. President Trump announced the United States will leave 66 total, 35 non-UN, 31 UN organizations that push the globalist agenda. Minnesota fraud has been exposed in real time. We have Iran on the verge of collapse. We have Russia responding directly to Ukraine coming out. This was huge because this is something I talked about just the other night. And Donald Trump basically saying is, we don't give a shit about international law. Putin just kind of reaffirmed this with Sergei Lavrov coming out and saying, we don't care about international law. We'll take out Zelensky if we want to. You remember what I told you about Russia and their positioning? That they could end this at any day, any moment now. And that really what they were waiting for was kind of this green light go. And there's going to be a 2-punch knockout that Russia is going to do. Number one is they're going to take out Zelensky, and number two, they're going to take Odessa. And the reason they take Odessa is because if NATO or Europe decides to do anything, Odessa becomes a bargaining chip to basically deter war. But if NATO doesn't do anything, and NATO is basically hindered at that point in time. Russia controls Odessa, basically all access to the Black Sea for all Western Europe, which is huge. So we are on the verge of massive, massive global change that is occurring right in front of our eyes. And, 2026, we knew was going to be off the hook. 2025 was really setting up the stage, setting up the chessboard for everything that was about to happen. And now 2026 is a go, a green light go for all of us. So President Trump, he says, I feel that I won Minnesota all 3 times. Listen to this. I mean, he's right. We know he won Minnesota. We know Minnesota's been red for a long time. Actually, if you pull out all the ballot harvesting, the illegal ballots, and all of the Dominion voting machines that are stealing elections, Republicans probably would have supermajority multiple times over. But listen to Trump here.
It's a very corrupt state. I feel that I won Minnesota. I think I won it all 3 times. Nobody's won it since Richard Nixon won it many, many years ago. I won it all 3 times, in my opinion, and it's a corrupt state, a corrupt voting state, and the Republicans ought to get smart and demand on voter ID. They ought to demand maybe same-day voting and all of the other things that you have to have a safe election. But I won Minnesota 3 times, and I didn't get credit for it. I did so well in that state every time. The people were crying every time after. That's a crooked state. California is a crooked state. Many crooked states. We have a very, very dishonest voting system. The last time I won, 24, the one that just took place, I won because it was too big to rig. You couldn't rig it. It was too big. But I won the state of Minnesota. It's a corrupt voting system with an incompetent governor, a very incompetent governor.
Well, and that incompetent governor is most likely going to face some type of criminal liability here relatively soon. We have Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, talking about how the Trump administration is using FinCEN and all the tools at the disposal of the U.S. Treasury to monitor all the international transactions that are coming from the state of Minnesota pertaining to illicit fraud. And a lot of these are pointing directly back to Governor Tim Walz, to Attorney General Keith Ellison, as if they are connected in some way, shape, or form. The one who is mostly going to probably get arrested in jail time and maybe even deported is Representative Ilhan Omar. So this is huge in Minnesota. I'm really excited and to watch this kind of unfold, because this is my state. And that with all of this happening right now, Minnesota could easily go red in the midterms. And if it does, buckle up. And you got to remember, if you go back and you look at all the congressmen and senators that are not running for re-election, the majority of them, I'd say 48% of them, are running for state governor. Donald Trump has something up his sleeve for the midterms, and it is taking back control over the states. Understand that accountability is absolutely coming, but you have to get all the pieces of the puzzle aligned. And one of those is getting supermajority in the Senate and the House, but also within the states, because when you have those 3 things in place, now you can have a constitutional convention and you can bring about real change. Now, going back to Minnesota, the USDA is suspending all federal funding from the state of Minnesota. Trump said it. Enough is enough. The Trump administration has uncovered massive fraud in Minnesota and Minneapolis, billions siphoned off by fraudsters, and those in charge have zero plan to fix it, according to Secretary Rowland. So massive defunding these states, and we're about to see the same thing happen in Colorado. You're about to see federal funding pulled from the university. You're about to see the USDA start pulling funding, defense funding start getting pulled from various different Colorado companies, and this is going to impact the economies in these states drastically. And when that occurs, you're going to see the same type of capitulation you saw with Venezuela, with Delcy Rodriguez in these states. These governors can only last so long without federal support. So this is going to be crazy to watch this unfold over the next, I would say, just 30 days. 30 days, I think that we could have Minnesota in capitulation. We could even see indictments coming out relatively soon. And talking about indictments, Bill and Hillary Clinton right now face contempt of Congress for dodging the Epstein subpoenas. And so I bet you that you're going to see a criminal referral, if it hasn't already been issued, to the DOJ for Bill and Hillary. This could be massive. I mean, Absolutely massive. So imagine if you did get that. Criminal referrals for Bill and Hillary Clinton pertaining to their avoidance of testifying in the Epstein. So I actually found something really interesting. Trump posted last night at 12:01 a.m. It was kind of an Iran post, but it was at 12:01. So 12:01 Eastern time is 0001. That goes to the Hillary Clinton first post on the boards, October 28th, 2017. Hillary Clinton will be arrested between 7:45 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. on Monday, the morning of October 30th, 2017. Now, keep Monday in your mind, but also it talks about her passport being flagged at 12:01 a.m. That's the time of the post that Donald Trump made. Now, interesting enough, we had trust the plan, trust Trump from the Department of Labor. Remember the meme that the Department of Labor put out there? Well, that was at 5:27. Well, that one says Monday. Next week, bigger, public, we listen, 2080 is greater than 4060. Hold on a second. It said Monday again. Now, something big could happen Monday. Could this be indictments, the things that we've been waiting for, the type of indictments we've been waiting for? I don't know. I hope that Monday morning we wake up and there's perp walks after federal raids of deep state actors, and that unsealed indictments begin being unleashed across the country. At the same time, the U.S. intervenes in Iran and begins taking out critical military facilities and handing back power to the Persian people in Iran. At the same time that we're watching the fall of the mercenary armies, the cartel armies, the transnational groups within Latin America. Remember if you go back a few weeks ago, not even a few months ago, a few weeks ago, whatever. Remember I told you that all of this is going to happen all at the same time? As I said, it's all going to start happening all at the same time. State of Minnesota. Trump's. One second, sorry. My phone just started talking. So effective January 20th, and this just came, Donald Trump just did this. You know, people are like, Donald Trump ain't doing anything. Oh, yeah? Listen to this one. Effective January 20th, Trump has capped interest rates on credit cards at 10%. He says, please be informed it will no longer let American public be ripped off by credit card companies that are charging interest rates of 20 to 30%. And even more, which festered unimpeded during the sleepy Joe Biden administration, affordability. Effective January 20th, 2026, I, as President of the United States, am calling for a one-year cap on all credit card interest rates of 10%. Coincidentally, the 20th date will coincide with a one-year anniversary of the historic and very successful Trump administration. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. President Donald J. Trump. So this is 100% full-fledged forward. Let's make America great again. Everything's in line. America's strong. America is financially secure. Let's go ahead and do it. So we have what's going on globally, then we have what's going on nationally. And Trump is not only fixing the economy, he's reestablishing a boundary for the economy to succeed. And this is huge in my perspective. All right. Breaking, Venezuelan journalist reports that Venezuelan acting president Delcy Rodriguez will travel to Washington, D.C. on Tuesday to meet with Trump and U.S. oil executives. Now, this comes a day after Donald Trump announces that Colombian President Petro will be visiting in 2 weeks. This also is a day after Monday that Donald Trump is meeting at Mar-a-Lago with Reza Pahlavi, the successor to the Shah of Crown Prince, exiled Crown Prince, who potentially go back in Iran. That's why I think that something that big is going to happen in Iran this weekend. But Delcy Rodriguez actually coming to the United States. Now, listen, we're watching full capitulation from the Venezuelan regime towards Donald Trump. Full capitulation. I mean, China, Russia, they've been kicked out. Cuba, they're not answering the phone. They're not letting the planes in. Oil, they're sending it over to the United States of America. This is massive. And this transition is kind of hallmarked on that global perspective. It goes back to Donald Trump's national security strategy, where he discussed that we are focused on the Western Hemisphere, that we are going to invest in Latin America, South America, Canada, that we are going to build up the Western Hemisphere to be a beacon of America First agenda. Now, that's pretty damn huge. Now, listen to what Donald Trump says right here. Pull this up. All right.
We're doing tremendous things. Our country is doing very well. You saw the numbers that got released today, yesterday. Deficits cut way, way, way back at levels that nobody's ever seen before, setting records. And the numbers coming into our country are unprecedented, and we're doing really well. We had a situation 3 days ago with Venezuela, and we're getting along extremely well with the people of Venezuela, both the people and the people that are running Venezuela. We're doing tremendous things. Our country is...
It sounds like Venezuela is their new BFF, right? So what can we expect from this? Well, number one, think about U.S. exports. Now, we just heard yesterday that U.S. and Venezuela are making deals for the oil revenue coming out of Venezuela to now be repositioned towards bringing in U.S. imports into Venezuela. Well, Venezuela has massive resources other than just oil. They have gold, they have critical metals and minerals, rare earths, and much, much more. Imagine what's going to happen when Donald Trump begins building out infrastructure in this part of the world, and that China is cut off. So 5 years ago, all of Latin America, all of the north coast of South America was affiliated with China through the Belt and Roads Initiative. China was moving up through all of Latin America, basically bringing them all into their pipeline. This pipeline is about the control of trade routes, about the control of resources, and about the control over adversaries. Donald Trump has flipped the script on China. Now, taking away Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, all of these directly from China and Russia's influence is massive, and it hurts them hugely economically, socially, and militarily. We'll talk a little bit about this more. Donald Trump today on Truth Social. Venezuela is releasing large numbers of political prisoners as a sign of seeking peace. This is a very important and smart gesture. The USA and Venezuela are working well together, especially as it pertains to rebuilding in a much bigger, better, and more modern form their oil and gas infrastructure. Because of this cooperation, I have canceled the previously expected second wave of attacks. I have, which looks like it will not be needed. However, all ships will stay in place for safety and security purposes. At least $100 billion will be invested by big oil, all of whom I'll be meeting with today, which they met today at the White House. So this is Donald Trump taking control over the global situation. And I'm going to, once we get through the few more of these articles pertaining to this whole Caribbean region, this will make a little bit more sense. Secretary Marco Rubio tells communists in Cuba they have two choices to make. Fuck around and find out might be coming. They can either have a real country with a real economy where their people can prosper, or they can continue with their failing dictatorship that's going to lead to systemic and societal collapses. That's a very stark and dramatic choice, and it's one we hope to make the right one. We don't have an interest in a destabilized Cuba, but that would be their fault because they refuse to allow the people of Cuba to have their economic and political freedom for that matter. The U.S., from what we are hearing, has repositioned the amphibious assault ships USS Iwo Jima and the USS San Antonio just miles off the coast of Cuba. Now, yesterday, Donald Trump also announced that they will be conducting land strikes in Mexico. This is something that Alpha and I have told you multiple different times was already occurring, that special operators were operating through Central and Latin America and in Mexico. And now we're going to see the fruits of that intelligence gathering operations that they were doing by hitting real targets directed in Mexico. And Sheinbaum is not very happy with this. She didn't even know about it, but it's going to happen. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit. And this is what's going to help make America safe and prosperous. So President Trump to begin land strikes against cartels in Mexico and Latin America. Now, we had something interesting happen that came out on the internet today. I'm going to play this video and then I'm going to talk about it a little bit because this video is kind of interesting. We don't know if this is 100% legitimate, but it sounds like it is. This is exactly what I've kind of been hearing. So listen to this.
A security guard that was protecting Maduro has spoken, and you got to hear what he said. It's in Spanish, but I'll translate. Also, Trump announced that, the cartels, they're going after him in Mexico. The whole vibe of Latin America has changed because of what happened in Venezuela. And now that we're getting firsthand accounts from people that were there, the soldier says they didn't hear him coming. He says the Americans had technology superior to anything they've ever seen. Everything that they were using for radar, for anything, was completely taken offline. They had drones, and the drones were taking out bases and taking out things faster. They didn't have no technology. They've never had to fight against drones. He also talks about that there was only 8 helicopters. There was only 20 men that were sent in. And those 20 men killed hundreds of their men. And none of those soldiers were injured. He talks about it felt like they were firing 300 rounds a minute. Nothing they've ever seen. Nothing that they can compete with. And then he also talks to the fact that the Americans had some kind of sonic shock boom that was sent out, and everybody immediately started bleeding profusely out of their nose. They couldn't even gather themselves because whatever was sent at them made them fall to their knees and vomit blood out of their mouth and out of their noses. They were incapacitated immediately. He says he never wants to go through that again. Doesn't want to have to fight with the Americans again. He's sending warnings to everybody out there that you think you can fight the Americans. You don't even know what their weaponry is like and what they're capable of. 20 men took out hundreds, and that's starting to spread all through Latin America. And now they're not saying, if you want me, come and get me anymore. They're like, oh shit. Especially after Trump says, hey, Mexico, you're on.
Okay. In other words, the U.S. flexed their muscles and scared the living shit out of militaries around the world. Talking about a new sonic type of weapon that was used in warfare that basically incapacitated enemy soldiers. They began bleeding from their nose profusely. They started vomiting, and they were killed instantly. Now, have we heard of type of weapons like that? Yeah, we actually have an LRAD, which can actually hone directly in on a specific frequency and make you shit your pants. It makes all the sphincters in your body just release at the same time. So to think that the military might have something like this actually makes a lot of sense. Now, if you kind of look at how the Delta Force came in and the attack helicopters were kind of formed in this kind of this 4-point vector. If they had something like that and a sonic weapon pointed down at the grounds at that point in time, it would absolutely have those effects, and you wouldn't even need it very long. You could just do 10, 15 seconds, then deploy your troops in there, and while they're recovering, boom, 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 boom. We had 20 men that killed hundreds. You got to also remember, China had a foreign minister there. He witnessed all of this. He heard all the rumors. He went back to China and told them. This has scared the living shit out of militaries around the world. One of the other reasons why you're seeing Colombia capitulate, Venezuela capitulate, and eventually Mexico is going to capitulate. So the other day, we saw a Russian Navy ship and a Russian submarine going out there and escorting the Bella, a ghost oil tanker that was smuggling oil from Iran and Venezuela into China. Trump called Russia's bluff and they scattered. Trump just confirmed that Russia's submarine and destroyer didn't want the smoke. If the submarine there was a submarine and a destroyer, and they both left very quickly when we arrived. In other words, Russia is either playing along or Russia is shitting their pants as well. And I think that Russia is kind of being positioned into a strategic point where there is no other choice but a U.S. alliance. And I'll get into that here in a second. We just got to cover the Iran stuff real quick. Actually, let me go into here real fast. Oh, man. We grew that audience really fast. I never really, usually when we do shows at these times, you don't get this fast of an audience build. So what is that one? We'll do this one. This is for Rumble. I saw these guys yesterday. I wanted to read this ad. Have you ever have one of those moments where the F-bomb is absolutely justified, but you don't feel like blowing up your entire life today? Yeah, that moment. That's why this exists. It's called an F-bomb jar. You drop one silently, no yelling, no consequences. All the impact with none of the fallout. Deploy responsibly or don't. We don't judge. You'll see it on the screen. Scan the QR code or click the link below and use the code RUMBLE10 for 10% off your entire order at thingsofholding.com. Go ahead and check that out, guys. All right. Appreciate for letting me do that. Now, Khamenei unleashes on Trump and the U.S. Your plan to destroy Iran failed once again. The Iran Supreme Leader Khamenei just dropped a fiery thread straight from his meeting with thousands in the Qom today. He's ripping into the U.S. and Trump for meddling, flawed plots, and straight-up arrogance while hyping Iran's beefed-up spiritual and military might since the revolution. Our enemies don't know Iran. In the past, the U.S. has failed due to their flawed planning, and today, their flawed scheming will cause them to fail, just like in the past. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're watching Iran, it doesn't look like anything is failing at all. It actually looks like Israel and the United States have enacted intelligence agencies to go out there, use Operation Gladio holdovers, and are orchestrating a massive color revolution within Iran that is gaining massive steam over just the last week. And by the end of next week, we will probably be in full-fledged revolution in Iran. So Mario Newfall said this earlier. He says, I'm hearing reports that President of Iran has submitted his resignation to the Supreme Leader. This is Pezeshkian. Based on the comments in recent days, the fact that he's only been president for months, I wouldn't be surprised if this is true. Now, if this is true, this is huge because it's showing that the leadership is now in fear and falling apart. From a strategic standpoint, the growth that is occurring right now in the protests, this is just a tipping point before the precipice. And when you're looking at a color revolution, is you can't offer your support as a nation state as it's beginning to gain steam and momentum. You have to wait until it gets to that precipice moment, that one point where everything begins to flow over. So once the protest turns into a full-fledged revolution, which I think is just going to be about another week, what I mean is thousands of people in the cities is going to start to be tens of thousands of people to hundreds of thousands of people. That's what we're looking at, all rising up. You will start to see Trump and Israel begin strikes on the regime. But what I mean is that once the people of Iran start arming up and fighting back and shooting back at police and military who are being deployed on them right now, this is that next step. And I know that it's cruel and it's like, oh my God, it's harsh. It's war and people want freedom. But once you start seeing them rise up, you'll be like, well, I didn't think they had a Second Amendment there. Well, guess what? I'm pretty sure Israel is shipping tons of armaments into Iran right now and arming the shit out of faction leaders. And so give that about 3 to 4 days, and I bet you we are going to see some fireworks. Now, potentially, we see things this weekend. I don't – if this moves really, really fast, you could see things this weekend, even if by Monday. I think – we're going to be more positioned in and around early next week, Monday, Tuesday, or next weekend. Next weekend, almost guaranteed, we are going to see a full-blown revolution in Iran. Unless, some way, shape, or form, the Iranian mullahs and Khomeini get control of this, which I don't think they're going to. Or if the Western leaders don't move forth. If Trump doesn't support them in any way, if Israel isn't supporting them in any way, then this will just die out. But that's not the case. This is actually being orchestrated by Trump and Israel. This is exactly what I laid out last year. There's a Substack blog out there on my Substack that you can go read about the coup of Iran that is occurring. And it talks about how it began, how it started, all the things that were organized within it. Redpillproject.substack.com. You can search in there for Iran and find exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, we have security forces that are opening fire on Iranian protesters. We've had over 217 Iranian protesters killed. Now, Donald Trump did issue a warning the other day to the Iranian regime saying that if you kill protesters, watch the fuck out. We are locked and loaded. Here's what Trump said about this today.
So Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. So we don't want that to happen. There have been cases like this where President Obama totally backed down. But this is something pretty incredible that's happening in Iran. It's an amazing thing to watch. They've done a bad job. They've treated their people very badly, and now they're being paid back. So let's see what happens. We're watching it. We're watching it very closely.
Watching it very closely. They're watching it from the Situation Room here because this is their operation. Operation Thunderstruck. That's my thought. Operation Thunderstruck. How to take down Iran. And this is exactly what they're doing. And when he says no boots on the ground, I think what he's talking about is the moment that Khomeini and the mullahs begin to leave Iran or move or start to move to remote locations, this is when Israel and the United States actually strike. Because the objective is to take out the regime's stronghold, and that is the mullahs, that is Khomeini, the dictator. So what they're going to do is as the people begin to rise up in the streets and become more and more powerful, overwhelming the IRGC and the police forces, eventually you're going to see Khomeini and the mullahs begin to leave and retreat, whether from airports or through military convoys out to remote locations. Once that happens, that's when the bombs drop specifically on them. I think that that's what we're going to see over the course of the next few days. Listen to what Trump has to say about this. I don't think it's the same clip. I think I got these positioned right.
Are you following the protesting that is taking place all over the country of Iran now?
Yeah, I'm following it very closely.
And have you read that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has a plan B to go to Russia?
Or someplace, yeah. He's looking to go someplace.
Do you believe that Iran, you think the country is on the verge of collapsing?
Well, it could be. I mean, what they've done is in the past, they've started shooting the hell out of people and all.
So Khomeini is going to flee. And this is the key plan, is once Khomeini begins to flee, that's when they strike. That is cutting the head off the snake. And once that snake head is cut, interestingly enough, I love this because I think Trump even gave us a hint about this today on Truth Social. And I know that it's, I saw it earlier, but when you start to think of Iran, you start to think the head of the snake, right? And Trump talks about Dr. James Jones, the great White House doctor, has written a fantastic book, Venom or Valor. And this is about, I would say, well, that book isn't about, but just symbolically giving us the idea that it's going to cut off the head of the snake. So what have we seen in the last few days of U.S. military? Massive amounts of U.S. military aircraft were spotted leaving the United States into Britain. And then a few days later, we saw Greece and other countries in Middle Europe go blackout within the night skies. We believe that this was U.S. military aircraft flying over into the Middle Eastern region. Right now, U.S. Air Force tankers have been spotted flying over the Persian Gulf. U.S. Air Force KC-135 Strata tankers were spotted flying out of the El Udeid Air Base in Qatar and moving through the Persian Gulf to Iraqi airspace, according to the public flight tracking data. We probably have massive amounts of drones up in the air as well. So this is a huge signifying movement that Trump is getting ready and pre-positioning. We also heard that Delta Force has been moved, or U.S. Army assets and special Tier 1 Special Operation Forces have been moved to that area. That also makes me think that potentially that when they begin to move Khomeini and the mullahs, that we could even see Delta Force move in and do something like they did with Maduro. That would be huge. That would be real huge. Putin is going to take out Zelensky in Odessa. Now, let's get into this conversation. The world is changing faster than any of us could ever imagine. If you went 6 months ago, what you have is you have China as the global technological leader, as the economic global leader, as well as the strongest military force in the world, slightly behind the United States of America. I wrote multiple different blog articles last year pertaining to Russia, the United States, and China. With this idea, these are the only 3 countries in the world that matter in the context of superpowers. If you look at it from this perspective, if China and Russia go to war with the world, they have a really good chance of winning. If they went to war with the United States of America, U.S. allies mean nothing. Canada, irrelevant. Europe, NATO, irrelevant. They don't have the military capacity to fight war at that scale or even to make a dent in those 2 superpowers. Now, with understanding this, Russia was a huge variable at play in the battle against global homogeny for a multipolar world. And you got to remember, these 3 countries, the US, Russia, and China, have agreed that, hey, look, the globalists, the Euro-centered, Anglo-Saxon leveled globalist world order, the new world order, the one world government, the old guard, fuck those guys, they're done. And they've all rug pulled the European elites over the last year. That whole one world government is done and dead. What you have now is a multipolar world that is forming. With this multipolar world, the one thing of naivety that people believe that it's going to be all kumbaya and let's sit around the fire and just sing and we're all going to be peaceful. That's just not how it works. In a multipolar framework, you either are going to have stalemate, near stalemate conditions, or you're going to have a hyperpower that reigns with peace and keeps everybody else at toe. So if we start to look at the Trump administration over the last year, one of the things that we begin to see is that Trump doesn't want a global stalemate with other superpowers. He wants the United States of America, America First agenda, to lead the way into the future for the entire planet. What that means is he has to transition the mindset of the American military, American foreign policy, the American economy into a hyperpower regiment. That also comes about by going out there and isolating those other 2 variables, China and Russia. Russia becomes the most vulnerable on the block because they are in a proxy war right now in Ukraine. They've been massively beaten down through the war of attrition. They've lost lots of soldiers, but they're still relatively strong economically and militarily. They're only strong because of 2 primary allies. China, who buys a lot of their oil and it keeps that war machine going, and Iran, where they get a lot of their defense material manufacturing from. Oh, so Trump had put out a multi-point plan for Russia peace deal in Ukraine. Russia today came back and pulled out of that. And I believe that what we're about to see is Putin's endgame come into play. And I think that this is the plan all along. Number one is the peace plan that Trump and Russia originally agreed to. There is no way Zelensky was going to agree to that. It just wasn't going to happen. And Europe definitely wouldn't have agreed to that. And I always told you that if that plan failed, the next option was always going to be for Putin to take out Zelensky and then to take Odessa. And this is exactly what you're going to happen, which means that Russia will then control Ukraine. And this is very, very bad for Europe, Very, very good for Russia. But that's what Russia wants. They want hegemonic control over that region and its resources. All the majority of the resources are in that area. Russia already controls the majority of it. It's the largest country in the world. So you want to keep that in mind, that Putin's kind of like playing the game, but he's more aligned towards Trump and America, but he's got to take a beating in order to get it. Now, in the midst of all of this, Donald Trump has taken out 2 of the strategic allies of Russia, or in the process of taking out 1 more. One of them was Venezuela, and then the next one becomes Iran. Once Iran falls, Russia is basically the only allied partner to China other than North Korea, which is kind of irrelevant, and a few other countries, Pakistan, and so forth. But this is where we get into some interesting things happening. China is the target. You probably heard all the military simulations. If we went to war with China over Taiwan today, we lose. We lose because of Russia as the primary variable. We lose because China has direct access to massive amounts of oil, energy, resources, and trade routes. If Donald Trump then systematically begins to control oil, energy, trade routes, and resources and pulls them away from China's influence, then China doesn't fight a war. China has no reason to fight a war because they have to capitulate, because they cannot sustain a war at a very long rate and process against the United States of America, especially if Russia is now a variable that is not aligned with them. And they've lost their 2 greatest energy allies, Iran and Venezuela. This is what we're seeing shape up right now. Now, the problem with this is that China knows this. China's watching this happen, which means that China at any moment could try to take Taiwan or move into a kinetic war front against the United States of America and demand that Russia, by treaty, begin to fight back. Now, what do I think is going to happen? China understands this, and they're watching it very, very carefully. You have the Belt and Roads Initiative that's been completely dismantled globally. You have China's 100-year plan that is frayed and worn and fallen apart. Iran is about to fall, and there's nothing China can do. This puts China in a very critical spot for oil, specifically energy and oil. They have to go to Russia directly. Now that's going to move up their 40% that they're getting from Russia up to like 70 or 80%, but it's also going to force them onto the global marketplace. When you go into the global marketplace, this is primarily OPEC, which all of the OPEC countries have some type of defense cooperation agreement with the United States of America, or some type of alliance militarily with the United States of America, which means that if China went to war with the United States, their oil gets shut off. And they're not going to get it from Iran. They're not going to get it from Venezuela. And if they're only getting it from Russia, well, that's an easy embargo for the United States Navy, considering our Navy is way, way bigger and more experienced in that type of capacity. In other words, China would have less than 100 days to sustain a war, which they would not be able to sustain, which means that their generals would never commit war in the first place. So this is the scenario that we're seeing drawn out right now. We're not even getting in the data centers, artificial intelligence, technological revolution, and all this stuff. It's just a checkmate of this administration that is putting on the other adversaries around the world. Now, I think that you're going to see Putin capitulate to Trump after Zelensky's gone and he takes Odessa. And I think that they will come into an agreement. Russia will control all of eastern Ukraine. What happens to western Ukraine, nobody knows. Nobody cares. But at this point, what you'll see is Russia will be happy with that. They'll ally with the United States of America. They will open up, remove the sanctions totally. They'll put their oil back onto the global marketplace. And here's the thing. With Iranian oil, Venezuelan oil, and Russian oil back on the global marketplace, what happens to the price of oil? Global energy prices skyrocket downward, which is actually good for all countries. But then you also perform this proxy sanction network directly on China if you ever needed it. So pretty huge right there. You can't explain one without explaining the other. So you have to go through all that. And then Greenland. So we were talking about this the other night. You know, Russian submarines, they have to use that Arctic Passage actually to get out of northern Russia. So this is critical to Russian military. Now, China has taken over lots of Greenland, lots of the Arctic channels. It's Russia and China that primarily operate in that arena. Donald Trump is saying, I'm taking Greenland. one way or another. This is a no shit. Let's listen to what Donald Trump says here. 24 seconds.
Right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay? I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. Right now.
And now you have NATO talking about moving into Greenland to stop U.S. progression into Greenland. And this comes about from Denmark, who says that we're locked and loaded. We're armed up with 40,000 people in their military. To defend Greenland, Danish politicians called for soldiers from Germany and France. I mean, I don't know if Germany, France, the UK, and Denmark understand the might of the U.S. military. That in Europe right now, the only reason that they are safe from a national security standpoint is because of the U.S. military. In other words, the U.S. is going to be taking Greenland one way or another. Donald Trump's White House administration is considering giving up to $10,000 to $100,000 each for each Danish or for each citizen of Greenland in support of secession from Denmark, which is going to happen. I don't think shots are going to be fired. I don't think the military is going to move in. I think that this is going to be clean and that the people of Greenland are literally going to move towards alignment with Donald Trump. And I think that we're going to see Greenland become a U.S. territory. And this is relatively soon, within, I would say, the next 6 months, that this is going to happen. And there's going to be global outrage, specifically from China and Russia, unless we see kind of all of this unfolding of Russia-U.S. diplomacy increase by that time, which Russia has every right to align with the United States of America. They want to align with the United States of America. They are reducing, their population is actually declining massively right now because they're not having kids. So they have to have an infusion of people into their country, and it's not going to be Islam and it's not going to be China. So you have to understand that they have to come to an association with the West in order to survive as a Russian nation. And Putin knows this. Okay. A lot talked about there, a lot going on. Crazy time to be alive. We are in the midst of fireworks. Fireworks are happening. I got one more ad to read right here real quick. They cancel your accounts. They freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. Introducing the Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference. There isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when the institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the only difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download the Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. You can go to the Android or Apple App Store and you can find that Rumble Wallet and download it. And if you look to the left of the Red Pill project on our Rumble, you'll see the tip, and you can go in there, you can scan our QR code, and you can directly send us cryptocurrency on our Rumble Wallet. And to this day, 3 days in, hold on, let me check once more. I don't think we've received anything on our Rumble Wallet. So sad. I want to see some, if you guys are going to, instead of the rants, throw it into the Rumble Wallet. Now I'm going to go through here, see if we had any Rumble rants come in. I didn't see any come. I was watching on the phone. I didn't see any Rumble rants come in. Some comments that distracted me, but no Rumble rants that came in. But guys, I appreciate you. hope you guys are going to have a great weekend. I'll be back with you Sunday night with Q After Hours. We got Fringe Binge probably coming tomorrow night. Maybe I'll put up a stream tonight. If you guys want to stream tonight, hit that like button. If you want a continuous 24-hour stream on Rumble, hit that like button. On Rumble and X, hit that like button. I'll get something up for you. But guys, much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. And we are in the midst of it. It is the TikTok moment. The best is yet to come, and fuck, nothing can stop what's coming. So much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. I'll see you next time. Good night.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns in silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil under, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last price. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone, patriots rise. We are one. Children of freedom, stand for the light. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. There was a time, time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone, patriots
don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!